Good morning, traders. Welcome to today's market review. This is Fred Razak at CMTrading. Today is July 12th, 2018, and today is Thursday morning. So looking at the economic events of the day, 1:30 South African time out of Europe, ECB monetary policy meeting minutes are coming out today. Okay, it's not the ECB monetary policy coming out, but it's the meeting minutes, which is a follow-up to the ECB rate decision from last time. And then at 2:30 South African time, monthly CPI numbers coming out of the United States. Now, these numbers are important for what they're worth, but if you're paying attention to anything that's going on in the news, Donald Trump has been meeting with NATO leaders in Europe, and things are being shaken up. Okay, he wants them to pay more money. He's basically raising the rent, okay, for all these countries. I mean, he's a real estate guy, and that's basically what he's doing in terms of their defense. So let's see how that plays out. The markets did rattle and shake because of that, and let's take a look.
This conference will now be recorded.
So we're taking a look here at the Euro USD, and sure enough, we broke that lower support level, 1691. We really just, across the board, just got much weaker versus the dollar, and as you can see right here. So looking for today, okay, 1691 is your possible resistance level now, okay, for if we get that further correction, okay. But things are shifting. He wants to change the game a little bit. He wants Europe to pay a little bit more money, and as such, most of the European related assets did sell off yesterday. We'll get to the DAX in just a minute, but as you can see here, selling off sharply. Now, what took the lead is the GBP USD, and we mentioned this the other day that this was really very weak. Okay, and we're looking at a daily chart right here, and you really got to take this into consideration looking at a daily chart to see how much further we can go back down to the 130 level. Okay, so that really is something really important. We're on the 14-day moving average. If we continue sliding down today, we could see it further sell off back to this 130 level. Okay, so there's still way for this to go down. If we jump to the Aussie dollar, sold off, but now a little bit of a bounce, if you call that, okay, just a very little bounce here, okay. But as the markets are continually shifting towards the dollar's favor, okay, you've got to keep this in mind that we're getting weaker across the board. Now, jumping into the Japanese yen, we mentioned this yesterday. We're looking at a daily chart, and if you remember yesterday, I said to you, if we break this 111, we're going to go back to this 112.66, 50-ish level right here. And sure enough, that's what we did. Okay, we had this previous resistance, previous support, and that's exactly what we did yesterday. And if you were able to catch that, good for you. Made a nice chunk of money right there with this nice rally on the upside, over 100 pips in just one day. So that, and there was no news coming out on the Japanese yen yesterday. So that really was a tremendous opportunity. Jumping into the CAD, Canadian dollar here, finally, consolidating here. It didn't give it to you so easily, to tell you the truth, but once it broke above the 30-day moving average, boom, we took it back up to the higher level. Now, if we look at oil corrected itself, but the Canadian dollar is getting weaker, mostly because of some of the sentiment of what's going to be moving forward with Donald Trump imposing those tariffs on Canada. Now, another thing that's really been in play is the Turkish lira. Okay, as we know, Erdogan, who's the previous prime minister of Turkey, was reelected. Okay, things kind of settled. They settled around 458, but we never took it further down. If we look here, you never saw further correction, and we held this line of consolidating here. Okay, now they're having a lot of economic issues in Turkey right now. And with that said, okay, he actually, I think it was one of his son-in-laws or to that effect, or his sons, that are, going to be heading the economic side of the economy in Turkey. Now that, once you have family members, running the show, things get a little bit messy, just because, they're sometimes not qualified for the job. So let's see what's going to actually happen here. We're, as you can see here, we're at that top of that range looking at a 4-hour chart. If we do retrace here, maybe we'll see a correctional move on the downside. That might still happen today. Now, jumping into the commodities, we'll first look at gold. And this is exactly what I mentioned yesterday, that we got that fake bounce right here, okay, the dead cat bounce, and sure enough, we're back down to this 1243-ish level. And I kept on telling you that this 1239 is my target for the summer. Now, if we break that, okay, if we break it on the downside, we could further sell off. Okay, shortly back down to the 1212 level. All right, so I think 12 low 1200s is not overstated and not oversold for the commodity of gold. Now, jumping into oil, we sold off sharply yesterday. And if you remember, we had weekly oil inventories coming out yesterday, and President Trump is imposing on OPEC to produce more oil in order to subside some of the price of oil. And sure enough, that's what happened yesterday. We slid over $4 yesterday. Not the biggest retracements that we had, but we may just see this, trade between 74 and 64. Let's see if it does break the 70 level. Maybe it can continue on a further correction. However, as it stands right now, 69.14, 70-ish level is probably my support level, and my resistance, my upper resistance is $74, right there, smack in the middle. Okay, so let's see what we get today, and we get that further sell-off. Now, jumping into the DAX. The DAX sold off sharply yesterday, and I can't just say that it's all political, but Donald Trump did specify that Germany will be one of the largest recipients who will have to make a correction and more contribution to their to the NATO defense forces. So with that said, as you can see, the DAX really sold off sharply yesterday, and we just hit that resistance level. And you can't write this stuff up, right? I mean, this is really all technical trading. If you're just looking at the charts and you didn't listen to the news, you'd say, boom, we hit our resistance level and we sold off, and we didn't break it up above. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened here. And we gapped down and we continued to sell off. Now, further, correctional move that you can happen right here, we're actually sitting on a minor support at this 12,400-ish level. Okay, so if we get that bounce today, that's actually, something to look at. But if we don't, we could go back to the 12,300-ish level. So that's something to digest today. Now, if we look at the Dow Jones rallied a little bit. Okay, 24,794, and not massive rally, but a positive day for a decent sell-off from before. All right, so let's see if this was just a take profit opportunity right here, this massive sell-off, and we continue that trending upwards later today. Now, why I'm a little bit decisive on the bullish part of the Dow Jones is because of the Nasdaq. If we look at the Nasdaq, we're right back up to our all-time highs and really flirting with it, and really teasing us because it wants to go up further, but the resistance is there, and then it gets a little bit choppy and it's a little bit hard to actually jump in with some conviction. But if we look at Facebook, not selling off, right? It's holding this line up here at 203. Okay, we're trading right now at 202, but not breaking it down. I would expected it to break down to take a little bit of a correctional move on the downside, but we're not getting that. So we may still see a rally yet. Okay, so just keep that in mind later today. Now, jumping into the last thing, Bitcoin, it's pretty much flatlined, but we're looking at a daily chart here, and we've been trading between the 6600 and 6300 area. Okay, and we finally hit that resistance earlier this week, and kind of churned right up here, and then breaking it down on the 62.96-ish level. Now, the thing is that if we continue to just slide down, okay, it doesn't necessarily mean that we'll sell off quite sharply, but just trickle down, we could see further decline in Bitcoin. So keep that in mind as today progresses. This is Fred Razak. I want to wish you guys a great trading day. Thank you.